Yep, I can hear you and I can see you.
All right, Nick, just tell me when we're good to go. All right. Okay, I'd like to kick off. I'd like to open this, we'll call to order this meeting of the Hartford Selectboard on Tuesday, August 5th, 2025 at 6:01 p.m. This meeting tonight is a hybrid meeting, which means that some or all of the public body is meeting remotely and some are meeting physically in a previously noticed location where the public may attend to observe, listen, and participate contemporaneously. One member of this public body or other staff is present at the location to ensure the public can participate if desired. Please note that while we strive to provide means for those attending remotely to participate in the public comment period, there may be technical difficulties or reasons that otherwise prevent or interrupt remote public participation. Therefore, it is important to note that the open meeting law only ensures the public's right to participate and comment at a public meeting by attending at the designated physical location as posted in the notice of agenda. If a member of the public or of the public body has technical difficulties accessing this meeting remotely, please alert us by email at selectboard@hartford-vt.org. In the event of a technical difficulty that cannot be resolved, we may continue the meeting if necessary to a time and place certain. Please note that all votes taken during this meeting that are not unanimous will be done by roll call vote in accordance with the law. As required by the open meeting law, let's start the meeting by taking a roll call and attendance of all members participating in the meeting. And have those members attending remotely identify themselves to ensure that they can hear and be heard throughout the meeting. So Eric?
Here.
Ida?
Present.
Mary?
Here, and I can see and I can hear everything.
Great, and we can hear you, and I am here as well, so we have a quorum. Our first item is the Pledge of Allegiance. Anyone like to lead us this evening? Thanks, Lenny.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thanks very much.
Thanks for that honor.
All right, we'll now adjourn this part of the select board meeting and open as the Cannabis Control Board, the local Cannabis Control Board. First item is considering the approval for the local cannabis license for Easy Green Genetics LLC. We always require someone for these, at least for renewals, to have the person here present, and Stephanie Waterman is here. If you have anything you want to say to us, Stephanie, you can. If not, if there are any questions for Stephanie, we can ask. This is the opportunity. Any questions for Stephanie? Okay, I'm willing to take a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. I move that the Select Board approve the local cannabis license S-000013-122 for Easy Green Genetics LLC.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, we have a second from Ida. Any discussion? Hey, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Okay,
Aye.
great. Thanks, Stephanie.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Do we have the person for the next license here?
I don't, but you might want to check on Zoom and see if anyone is there.
The person's name is Tim Ryder?
The only attendee on Zoom we don't recognize, it just has initials DF.
That's Stanford.
Oh, okay.
All right, I guess we'll skip this for now. If they come in, we can come back to it. It's just we do have a policy that the applicant be here for renewals and new licenses for the cannabis. So we will close that portion of the local cannabis control board, reopen as the select board. Order of agenda, I don't believe there are any changes. So we will go to public comments. So we'll start with people in the room and hear from people on Zoom. If you'd like to comment, please come up to the microphone, state your name and town or village of residence. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. We have a timer, and when the time goes off, please wrap up your remarks. As we note now in the agenda, public comments an opportunity for the public to comment. It's not a place for dialogue. And if you have questions about town operations, please contact the town manager. So Lanny?
Yep. Thank you. Lanny Collins, White River Junction, Town Hartford. So I've been talking to a lot of people around town about the Coolidge project that David Briggs has bought for you. And the common denominator that I hear from everybody about this project is that this is going to be something that's going to give us a parking garage, business shops downtown, and some high-end luxury apartments. And it's going to end up costing the taxpayers of the town of Hartford along the order of, let's face it, close to $100 million by the time we're all said and done on this. And the question I guess I have is that the concern everybody has with this is the fact that many members of the select board they're currently wrote on the platform of what they would do for housing in the town of Hartford. And this type of housing with these high-end luxury apartments, everybody agrees it's not going to serve much for housing. It seems like the emphasis could be better spent towards developing a housing authority and getting a piece of land and doing some block housing for lower income or workforce housing, which is sorely needed. And as an example, I would give what Lebanon has done on the Mount Support Road. They've done an excellent job of developing workforce housing. And that's the kind of thing that we need to focus on. If we're going to spend tens or hundreds of millions of dollars in the town of Hartford, we need to focus on that type of housing. As much as I appreciate the need to keep White River Junction vital, there are surely many other things that the taxpayers' money could be spent for that would do much more good for the town. Thank you.
Thank you, Lanny. Any other public comment in the room?
Waiting for the timer. Pete Zandron, White River Junction. Sure, I know that here to follow up on the emails I sent the town manager and others here tonight in the town regarding some public safety issue. Because after speaking with the state's attorney last week, this is what, I mean, I sent the emails I sent these were the more serious of the threats, because now we know that the violence me and others have been experiencing recently in the region is premeditated. Most of it is premeditated violence by MAGA thugs when they're posting threats on the internet. And some of this is connected with the recent protests that happened, mainly back in June. Now, this is the more, I mean, it's a shame half the board's not here tonight, but at least as Mary acknowledged in one of her emails, at least you've got someone speaking here tonight who is not afraid to fight back and take action. And part of my concern is, some patrol officers, they've been doing a half-assed job investigating the roots of this violence. And to follow up with Lanny said, some of the housing developments, they've been doing a half-assed job of screening because these violent people should not have been admitted to housing. And in one instance, this is one violent person who assaulted 4 members of the police after I pepper sprayed them. And in a situation like that, because the police are well within their rights to pick up charges, but we haven't heard anything about doing this. And to follow up on a more personal note, if anyone noticed my footwear, well, this happened recently coming to the assistance of some elderly people after somebody showed up in the region with a fake service animal, and some people, including in the library, asked me to assist them with this person. And additionally, it was also brought to my attention that the fentanyl issue problems in town, especially with some of the new safe spaces to use for people to do this, it's worse than people realize. People are not fully aware of the effects that fentanyl can have. Just being in the region where somebody has been doing that can cause serious health problems. And this was brought to my attention specifically in Royalton while boarding the buses over there. And one quick thing to follow up what I mentioned with Ida just this past week, we mentioned some of the issues regarding transit. Well, the police were more than gracious at the VA with some troublemakers who showed up at the stop over there. I mean, this is the kind of problem you'd expect to have in Providence and New Haven, not over here. And this is one reason I've had to bring up the transit issue. This is a threat and a concern which me and others have warned about. And I'll be more than happy to stick around as long as I can to discuss this later if need be.
Okay, thanks very much. Any other comment in the room? Do we have anyone on Zoom?
Yes.
Marcy?
Yes, Marcy.
Marcy?
Yes, hi, this is Marcy Bartlett from Wilder. Can you hear me?
You can.
Okay, thank you for taking my call. I wanted to follow up on the significant activity report from Scott Hausler about the needles, etc., from drug use at Lyman Park and in particular at Veterans Park. The community will know that on the Monuments Committee worked really hard and got this beautiful monument for World War I and World War II vets placed last Memorial Day, and some of you were there at the dedication. And currently, we are excited to be doing so well with our fundraising for the next one, which is Vietnam, Korea, and post 1975 era servicemen and women. In addition, down the road, a young man who is a candidate for becoming an Eagle Scout has chosen Veterans Park to become his big project. I am not real familiar with this phenomenon within scouting, but I gather it's a big deal. He's chosen the park as his big project to do with beautification, maybe benches, maybe picnic tables, planting, etc. So when you see a significant activity report of real concern, we love the Veterans Park. It's been beautiful and it's made more beautiful lately. But these two entities are really on a collision course of some sort. I am crying out for us to pay attention to this. And I know that the PD's been involved. I know that Park and Rec's been involved. Our people in Park Rec shouldn't have to fear for their health in the course of their regular duties. I'm really concerned about this. I've been reaching out to John Hafner and Jennifer Kravitz to talk further about some housing things, and maybe just as concerned citizens talk together and bring ideas together. And that's been productive. I want to thank the police. I want to thank our health officer. And I'm really grateful for the work they're doing. I don't want to see this become a public safety issue further than it is, and I want it to go away. But it's going to take regular policing, and we have their resources being stretched very thin by that community already in other contexts. So I'm concerned about this, and hopefully we'll keep the awareness going and group effort. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Marcy. Any other comment on Zoom?
No.
Okay, we'll end public comment, go to select board comments and announcements. Eric, I'll start with you. If you have a minute.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. The only thing that I wanted to comment on tonight was gratitude for those who record our meeting minutes and make sure they're in good working order. Our clerk, Ashley, does a nice job, I know, and almost always unseen, but always paying close attention and capturing notes from these sometimes long meetings. Lana Livingston. So just a word of appreciation for Lana. And when Lana is unavailable, John is doing double duty. So appreciate that staff is taking a good chunk of that workload, which I think years ago the board realized that it would be difficult for a clerk to both sort of act as a select board member and do that work of taking all the notes and the minutes. And so just a word of appreciation for staff for doing that. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Eric. Ida, any comments?
No comments from me.
Mary, do you have any comments or announcements?
Just to congratulate the Quechee Fire Department on their new building and opening up and doing all the great things that the fire department does.
Thanks, Mary. My only comment, I just heard about this, is that the Vermont Department of Health is holding a free dental clinic Saturday, September 20th, 9 to 3 at Cornerstone Community Center, 14 Elk Street, Hartford Village. The event will include free oral exams, denture checks, no drill fillings, fluoride treatment, and teeth cleanings. as someone who has had more root canals than I care to remember, I would encourage anyone who doesn't see their dentist regularly to attend that event. Okay, we'll get to appointments. We have a reappointment, Susan Mullens, to the Hartford Committee on Racial Equity, Inclusion for a 2-year term. And this is a reappointment, so Susan does not need to be here. If the board has any comments or discussion, we can have that. If not, I'd be willing to entertain a motion.
We'll go for it. Okay,
Great.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Mr. Vice Chair. I move that we reappoint Susan Mullens to the Hartford Committee on Racial Equity and Inclusion, HCOREI, for a 2-year term beginning August 5th, 2025 and ending August 4th, 2027.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Second from Eric. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Mary?
Aye. Aye.
We have a new appointment of Gaal, Shephard, Crowl. Gaal, are you here?
I am.
Okay, great. This is to the 2-year term on the tree board. If you'd like to come up and just put your name in for the record and tell us why you're interested in the tree board. It can be very brief, but that would be
Sure.
helpful.
My name is Gaal Crowl. I was on the tree board. There are some issues that have been resolved. And so I have been asked to come back and I'm happy to do that, probably because I have the gift of not being allergic to poison ivy.
Fantastic.
I'm a sacrificial goat, but it's made some real innovations. We're very happy that so many people are involved in coming to the tree walks and ask a lot of questions, stay a long time. And we're looking forward. This is not cheerful, but we are looking forward to what will happen to the trees in the future with climate change. But we're also looking forward at innovative ways. For example, my expertise is in fungi, and we're looking at fungi versus fertilizer and how that would help the health of the trees, as well as keeping fertilizer out of the 2 rivers that flow through here. So it's an exciting time for the tree board.
Good. Any questions for Gaal? Okay, thanks, Gaal. Appreciate it. I'm willing to entertain a motion on this one.
Mr. Vice Chair.
I'm sure some people have made motions, so you guys might want to just trade off. Right?
Take turns.
I'll take this one, Mr. Vice Chair.
Great.
Gaal, thank you for your service and being willing to step up and come back into that role. I move that the board appoint Gaal, Shephard, Crowl to the Hartford's tree board for a 3-year term beginning August 5th, 2025 and ending August 4th, 2028.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I will second.
A second from Ida. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Thank you. Thanks very much for coming in, Gaal.
Thank you,
Yes,
Gail.
For your work on the tree board. We'll turn over to John for the town manager's report.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. On Monday, the 28th of July, there was a statewide Zoom discussion between municipal managers and the Vermont League of Cities and Towns to discuss what initiatives to support in the next legislative session to address some of the impacts of homelessness on Vermont municipalities, communities. On the Thursday, the 31st, there was another negotiation session between the town and the Clerical Workers Union. That topic, I believe, will come up again later tonight in executive session. On Thursday, August 14th, there will be another monthly meeting of the Public Safety Coalition, spearheaded by the HPD Community Outreach Team. I believe that begins at 5:30 at the Public Safety Complex in the training room upstairs. Please save the date. We've followed up with the Quechee Club and have confirmed Wednesday, November 19th from 5:30 to 7 at the Quechee Club main dining room as the details for a Quechee Club forum come into focus. Stay tuned for further information or discussion about an agenda. The Select Board has the opportunity to tour the transfer station if you'd like, in anticipation of a presentation by our consultant regarding the future of the transfer station. That's Sanborn Head. We have tentatively scheduled them for September 22nd, but before then, some or all of you might want to come down for a guided tour of the transfer station. Brian Gazda tells me Tuesday mornings at 8 would be a great time because it's hopping after the weekend break on Monday. And so I'll probably send out an email inviting people to come at that time at that location for a tour of the facility. Finally, I wanted to mention that on your desk, I've left you a draft letter in support of a Habitat for Humanity project. If any or all of you are interested in signing to express your support for their efforts to seek grant funding for their upcoming project here in Hartford, please feel free to sign the letter that is over here at the desk. I have a few other matters to highlight from other departments. JD at Communications points out that he's working on an Ask Hartford feature for the newsletter. It's a way for residents to get questions answered by the town. The questions and answers will be published every other week in the Hartford News and on the town's website. The town clerk notes that the clerk's office has posted the position for a full-time assistant town clerk, and they'll be accepting applications until August 11th. For more information, please check out the town website. The clerk's office points out that it has been a busy time coordinating the 28 tax appeals hearings from taxpayers who have appealed the assessment on their properties to the Board of Civil Authority by the July 11th deadline. The Board of Civil Authority will hold 6 days of hearings in August and September. The transfer station report from Brian Gazda is that they are still experiencing an increase in customers, primarily associated with the discontinuance of the curbside recycling program. During the first 4 weeks of July in 2025, 827 permits have been sold compared to 492 at this time last year. So that's a 68% increase. The Police Outreach Division notes that Police Liaison McKee, Clara Martin Liaison Caitlin George, and is that the chief? It's Randy St. Pierre, the outreach leader at the moment, have begun doing multiple daily walkthroughs at Lyman Point Park as calls have increased in frequency over the summer months for reported substance abuse issues and homelessness. Multiple people have been contacted and provided opportunities or information for services. Further, people have been warned about the park rules relating to drinking and smoking, and tickets for violating these rules have started to be issued. I've already mentioned the upcoming August 14th next meeting of the Safety Coalition. So I'll move on to a planning and development update, which is that they are following up on next steps regarding the Select Board's approval of the public-private partnerships benchmark level 1 related to the Coolidge redevelopment and parking discussions. Parks and Rec, as Marcy Bartlett has mentioned previously, has issued a set of remarks in their SIGACs concerning the issues that we're having in town parks. Specifically, the department, that is Parks and Rec, met with members of the police department, the town manager, and human resources to discuss the ongoing issues with drug paraphernalia and individuals violating park ordinances. In addition, park staff were in attendance to share frustrations and concerns with handling of and disposing of used needles, Narcan dispensers, and infestation of items. The department appreciates the efforts from our police department, and they're hopeful for solutions to help us maintain a safe and accessible park system for all residents. Separately, they note that we're looking to change our recreation management software. The proposed platform will include a mobile app for more customer-friendly interactions with households and a smoother program registration process. The new platform also includes facility reservations and facility management solutions for the WABA Ice Rink and Maxfield Sports Complex. We hope to launch the new platform within the next couple of months.
Questions for Dawn?
Yes, one question. Thanks for all the updates. And this might be for John or perhaps Chief Kelly, you can weigh into. I realized I was conflating the Hartstat meetings and the Public Safety Coalition meetings. So just curious what the difference in purpose of those two meetings are. And is there one that's more focused on inviting members of the public in versus the other if someone was concerned about, wanting to be involved with being more up to date with police work and public safety in our community? Is there one of those meetings that they should prioritize?
Certainly, yes. The Public Safety Coalition is the more public facing and community engagement piece of that. Hartstat is more of a recitation of factual and analytical data for the benefit of social service providers. So they meet, they talk about frequent users of services to collaborate on ways to address their needs. Again, professional to professional. So if anyone's interested in learning more about public safety issues in Hartford and has maybe some suggestions or ideas to offer along those lines, please come to the monthly meetings of the Public Safety Coalition, which for the last 2 or 3 have been held at the HPD offices in the upstairs training room. The next one will be August 14th. That's a Thursday evening from 5:30 to 7 or so.
Okay, great. Thank
Other
you.
questions, Eric?
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Thank you, John. 2 questions for you. One is about the parking ordinance that parking ordinance approved recently. I understood that the public needed to be notified, and then there was like a 60-day window for any public comments or issues. And if after 60 days there's nothing, it goes into effect.
Yes.
Has the clock started on that?
Yes. With the passage, the 60 days began. There needs to be a newspaper notice published if it hasn't already been. I'm sure Lori's on top of it, but I can confirm with her, give you all that reassurance. But the idea is that by posting notice of the passage of the ordinance or the adoption of the ordinance, that kicks in its own clock of, I think, 44 days, after which, if there has been no petition, the ordinance becomes effective.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
And then another question for either you or Chief Kelly or both of you. It seems as though, and maybe this is just my perception, but it seems as though we're seeing an acute increase in incidences related to drug paraphernalia and so on in our parks and elsewhere, perhaps in town. And I'm wondering if, other than sort of broadly, just broad general issues of in society, I'm wondering if in Hartford we can identify any root causes that are causing the immediate acute increase in the sort of activity that we're seeing.
Would you like to take a step up to the mic?
I think that there's more of an issue, trying to put this nicely, of a lack of pride for people's self-worth. They're using and they're dropping their needles. They're not cleaning up after themselves, and primarily that use is happening in our parks. Our parks are public places. Our officers are going through our parks nightly, multiple times, removing not the same people. It's a steady flow of people that are in and out of our parks that are using. And honestly, we have usually 2 officers on at night. So in between handling their normal calls for duty, they're filling in, doing the foot patrol. So it's difficult to manage the problem, and it's not just a law enforcement problem. There's so many other issues that go into addiction. You have the unhoused piece of it, and the addiction, and it's not just the needle addiction, the addiction to intravenous drugs. I mean, there's a slew of issues that are I can't solve just standing here and to say what is the root cause of all of this. I mean, the root cause is addiction. But trying to solve that and fix that, and our officers that like Randy St. Peter going out and doing the face-to-face contact daily with people with our PSW McKay and our substance use provider, Caitlin. A lot of time, I mean, you offer the services, but people have to be willing to take the services too. And quite often, what we're getting is, no, I'm all set. I don't want the services. So it's difficult on our end.
I understand, and I certainly am not expecting you to offer all of the solutions,
Sure.
and I appreciate all of the service that your department provides. What I was interested in is, so like I said, it's my perception that there's an acute sort of increase in the sort of activity, or at least there's a reporting of it. And so I was trying to understand if there's something like, because all of the general issues are still going on, like housing crunch and all of these other issues are just, they're in the background. But if the trend line is changing, then is there something in particular that we can look at and try to understand how to not be fully in reaction mode and sort of pivot a little bit?
I'll take a stab at a little bit at it in the sense that, yeah, there's a kind of a Venn diagram of some dysfunctions in society, and we're not a stranger to that. So there's homelessness, there's mental illness, there's addiction. And I think it's probably fair to assume that if you're going to have more homelessness, for example, there's going to be more discovery of drug use paraphernalia, just because that sometimes overlaps with homelessness. And as I understand the state's approach, it has been to curtail the hotel voucher program, which left a lot more people looking for a way to live day to day. And some of that involves homelessness and bringing some of those issues with them to public spaces. It's probably why we had this session that I mentioned about homelessness and its impacts on municipalities. And what can the legislature do? Maybe there's a way to redirect some of the funding that had supported the hotel program to municipalities for the impacts. I know we also have been exploring funding sources for either town staff to be trained or for contractors to help us engage in cleanup of public spaces. We also have opioid settlement funds that the town has, and we're trying to find out whether those funds could be used to mitigate some of these impacts on public spaces.
All right. Thank you both.
We have a hand on Zoom.
Heidi, may you go?
Hi,
Heidi?
Heidi Utah, White River Junction, Vermont. Thank you to whomever allowed me to speak. Getting to the outreach meetings, they are very important to the public. I really strongly encourage all select board members to attend these meetings. They would help you greatly understand what HPD and all of the rehabilitation staffs are all trying to do. There's a good amount of residents included that come together. Right now we have 3 smaller groups underneath the big group that gather monthly. We kind of put one of the 4 smaller groups on hold because we didn't have enough information and support for that group, but they meet at different times of the month, at different times of the day, whether they're in person or if they're on Zoom or in different meeting groups. I think they would help you to understand different aspects that they're trying to work on. But I think Eric went to the first meeting at the Hartford High School Library. I really think that you could grasp different angles and different reasons why and how we could help. I find it very beneficial. I mean, there's so many reasons, so many opportunities. I'd be willing to sit down with any of you. I'm not an expert by any means, but I've learned a lot by going to these meetings. Reach out to Connie Kelly, reach out to Amy Wunderlich. They will help you set up times, the days, the times of these meetings, and just join in. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Heidi. All right, thank you, John. We're going to hear an update from the Hartford Community Coalition. I think Emily got here just in time.
Just in time. I'm gonna pass out something because I didn't get my act together enough to. So one of you gets a nice color copy, the other one's black and white. Sorry.
Oh, thanks.
I'll give you one, John.
Thank you.
Okay. Hi, thanks for letting me be here. For those watching online, I just handed out a quick kind of overview of what the last school year and summer has kind of looked like. My name is Emily Zanleone. Sorry, my name is Emily Zanleone. I am a resident of Wilder and also the executive director of the Hartford Community Coalition. I am not a traditional executive director. I do a lot of programming. We are a very small organization. We do have now 4 staff, but we're very part-time staff, but hoping to be able to really kind of get into our strengths within those 4 positions. I was invited here tonight to give a little update. So I would like very much to just say, I'll start, I hope, by giving you a little bit of hope. We have a lot of things in the world, in our town, in our state, in our country, that are really scary and awful. And I would like you to know that there's some hope for the future. If you are not aware, the Hartford Community Coalition is a group of community members working to promote mental health and prevent youth substance use and food insecurity in the summertime. A couple of the things that I'll just mention that we do with our youth. We have 3 groups that we run, both the middle and the high school. And so they are named Hope Happens Here, which is a mental health awareness organization that's dedicated to starting the conversation about mental health and removing the stigma around it in a kind of peer-to-peer model. So started with a lot of the athletes at the high school who presented at a number of games this year with a statement before the game and then a table of resources. And then the middle school group is just blowing up in a big way. I'll talk about that in a second. So Getting to Why is another best practice program, an opportunity for the students themselves to bring meaning to their youth risk behavior survey. So that's a survey that they take every other year. It asks risk and health and behavior questions. This November, our group did a community dialogue presentation and then discussion during our annual meeting, and it was amazing. Just want to let you know you're all invited to our annual meeting this year, which will be November 19th, and details to follow. Watching the youth present what they think is important and what they think we can do about it, and then asking adults to be helpful in that process is pretty incredible. And then the 3rd group is Our Voices Exposed, which has a goal of reducing youth smoking and vaping rates through activism and education. Our kids go to the State House and there's a rally every year, which they love, because who doesn't love yelling at the State House? I don't know. They take the lead on packing what we call quit kits. And so that's on your sheet. We made a number of those this year. about 185, and we gave at least 35 of those kits to a neighboring school. So they are very much the youth's way of saying to their peers, it's really okay that you're struggling with this addiction. Let's see if you want to start the journey toward not using. And then one of the other really awesome things that's happened in the last 2 years is that we have started using an evidence-based curriculum called You and Me Vape Free. And our middle school students from our OVX group are now helping us as staff teach in the elementary schools. So we've been in the Quechee school and the White River School, and we hope that Dothan will allow us to come in this year as well, because we've seen vaping start as early as 4th grade in this town. And that's not to scare anybody, it's that it's just so widely available. Our kids are not as innocent and without intention as we might think. So we do a lot of stuff in the school. I'm gonna think about my time and not kind of belabor too much. You hear a lot of our work like focuses not only on youth, but with youth and empowering them to be brave and bold and like in a pursuit of a future without addiction. These are the things that we were just talking about with Chief Kelly. We had a standout 8th grader this year who asked if he could, this is the nerdiest thing on the planet, but this is why we love him. He wanted to go to the National Leadership Forum of Coalitions in Washington, DC, and learn what he could. So he spent 2 days in workshops, which is amazing, just like soaking it up. And then we spend a day during that forum on Capitol Hill speaking with legislators. And so our 8th grader was determined to speak with all 3 personally. And he did just do that. I have many pictures, if you'd like to see, of him shaking hands with Representative Ballant and Senators Welch and Sanders. And it was the thing that kind of, again, when we talk about empowering kids, giving kids the opportunity to do these things is the reason why they hang out with us as long as they do. That same 8th grader was asked to talk at the annual Prevention Day conference in Montpelier. And that student, along with 4 others, got to visit with Representative Cole and Senator Joe Major while at the State House that day. And once those students, those 4, saw their other student presenting, none of them said no to coming to present in May at the Vermont Division of Substance Use Programs conference in Burlington. So we had 7 middle school youth that presented to a room of almost 100 adults. So it feels very encouraging to see youth taking advantage of the opportunities to advocate at some of the highest levels, right, for the things that they feel like are important. And it's very encouraging that these folks are kind of some of the prevention workforce already, right, doing the work right along with us. So as you might know, and I'm just going to change gears here real quick, HCC was connected to Project Vision in Rutland shortly after the 3 youth suicides that our town was inundated with in the summer of 2013. That brought us together as the Hartford Community Coalition. And so we appreciate that the HeartStat Coalition is taking on some of the public safety work from those community conversations that we did, the HCC did in 2021 and 2022, and feel very strongly about collaborating with, but not duplicating the work. So one of the distinctions I like to make is we will continue promoting and working toward our mission of promoting mental health and preventing youth substance use and summer food insecurity. which brings me to my last two things. Our annual block party and our summer meals program. Anybody at the block party this year? I saw some of you. Yay! Thank you so much. We celebrated our 10th annual block party this year. That actually began 11 years ago. Of course, there was a COVID year in there. That was one of the things that we implemented right away after meeting with Project Vision 12 years ago. So this past June's party was the largest party by far, not because we did anything different, but because people came out, like really came out. We had easily over 500 people in attendance. We had 56 vendors around the park. We had to make a middle row for the first time. It's kind of amazing. Certainly thanks to Parks and Rec and the PD and the fire department and the town for helping support this event each year. And of course, the number of nonprofits that come out to speak to their constituents each June and serve as a resource to people in our community. So the block party is a kickoff to the summer and historically the Wednesday evening after high school graduation. So mark your calendars, Ken. The 2026 block party will be held on June 17th. So I hope that's okay with Parks and Rec. Sorry, haven't yet, run that by them, but hopefully that's okay. And finally, one of the things that we use most of our town appropriations for is our Take a Bite Out of Hunger program, our summer meals program. So as you may know, our school district does not have to and does not choose to run a summer meals program because they do enrichment programming and not actual school programming during the summertime. This year we were unable to use the high school. You all know why. And so we've been using the kitchens and the cafeteria and their minivan for the last 7 years. So we are currently working out of and leasing the Cornerstone Community Center, Old Elks Club on Route 14, renting a U-Haul cargo van 3 days a week for deliveries, and relying on a lot of schools and camps to pick up their daily meals from our kitchen each day. We serve 8 camps and schools. There are 16 locations that we go to with 5-day meal bags for those children that are not attending schools or camps. And thus far this summer, so just in July, because we did have to start a week later than we thought. We have a total of meals, 6,595 meals in just July alone. We try very hard not to have any waste and excess. That's important to us. That's important to the other people who fund this program. Very grateful to be able to have the space to do it this year. So pardon my attire. I did just come from one of our ice cream socials, which just happened this evening at the White River School. We have 2 more that are open to the public. Certainly, we encourage children and their families to come, but there's no reason why adults shouldn't show up and get an ice cream as well. It's about building community and building hope and building some conversation with each other. And so that will continue to be our goal moving into the future. Happy to take questions.
Wonderful. Thanks very much. Emily, any questions for Emily or comments?
I've got one.
Sure.
The topic of your earlier plan to bring in a Boston Celtic to talk about avoidance of drug use by youth came up at the Public Safety Coalition meeting last time. So I just thought I'd ask you, are there still plans to do that?
Well, that's on hold, Mr. Haversock, given that we are not sure if we have a gymnasium
of course
that we could use for said visit.
Mm.
However, it seems like I just spoke to a school board member today. It sounds like perhaps there's a maximum of 250 people that can be in the gym at once, but that's not all the kids in the high school. And so if we have 2 performances, he costs double, all of those things. But thank you for holding that $3,000. We appreciate that very much. That is only about a third of what he costs to come here. But, you know, we appreciate that we might still be able to use that eventually. And certainly if you have something that you can use it more readily, more immediate, please let me know and let's talk
I think
about that.
Emily's talking about our opioid settlement
Settlement
funds.
That's
So,
right.
yeah.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Eric, did you have a question?
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. No questions, just comments. Thank
Oh,
you.
Please.
Thank you very much for your presentation tonight and all of the work that you do and that your staff does and that your volunteers do, student volunteers and others.
Mm.
So thank you. Without organizations like yours, maybe we wouldn't have so much hope. So thank you.
Thank you for that, Eric.
Yeah, I just want to echo what Eric said. Emily, thank you so much for your leadership in our community, and your organization is excellent. And yeah, I think, you know, we all need more sources of in-person connection and community. And I think you're doing a lot, and with putting youth at the forefront of that is just really appreciated and valued by so many people. And then, yeah, just circling back to the question around the funding and the opioid settlement funds, I think maybe it's just time for an update about the status of those funds and how much we have left. I know I recall reading the stipulations around they needed to go towards evidence-based programming, and you mentioned, you know, I think much of what you do falls into that. So there might be a chance to touch base because, you know, there might be an opportunity for you to request more funds depending on what our balance is. But just wanted to put that out there to John and to you, that something to keep on your radar in terms of your budget.
Thank you.
Happy to get more detail on that. Thanks.
Great. I'll follow up with you, John. Thank you, Etta.
Thanks, Emily. Appreciate it. Great work.
Thank you for all of your work. Appreciate it very much. I have an early morning, so I'm going to go. Thank you for your time.
Thank you again.
Have a good night.
All right, we've got, looks like 4 potential donations for HPPD that we have to consider and approve. We're just gonna go through these one by one with votes, so is it something we can?
I was going to ask the board if you minded if I consolidated all the canine stuff at the end.
At the end, okay.
Yeah,
So we'll do the
we do
e-bike
the,
purchase and the drone purchase separately,
yes,
and we'll consolidate the canine stuff.
all right.
Whenever you're ready.
So the first one that I have is, grab my specs, is the drone. So that was a donation. We requested assistance from the Jack and Dorothy Byrne Foundation. They gave us a generous donation of $10,000. The drone cost $10,161.71. The drone, do you want to hear? I haven't done a donation request before. So do you want to hear what we're looking to use the money for in detail, or do you want just a quick overview?
Generally, the approach is that the board has reviewed the packet and would appreciate you touching on some highlights.
Okay, so we received $10,000. We're going to use unclaimed funds for the balance, which is $161.17 or 71 cents. The drone gives us the capacity to have thermal imaging, which is important if we have missing persons. If we have, you know, when we're going down in the gorge looking for a person, we're able to fly the drone rather than sending people down. It's much easier and safer. Similar, you know, when we're going into scenes that may not be safe for the officers to go in, we can, at this particular drone, we can attach a speaker to, so we can talk to somebody. Also, if somebody's injured or has been lost and, you know, they're down a ravine or something of that nature, the drone can fly down into them. The officers can talk to them and assure them that, you know, we know where they are and someone's coming to get them out.
And then that's the basis of it. So 10,000 was covered by the Burn Foundation.
I just wanted to point out to my colleagues, it was helpful that you put in the Vermont statute on drones, so these can't be used for the purpose of investigating, detecting, or prosecuting crime. So
No.
it's basically just for like search and rescue.
Yes. Yes, and also like with the fire department flying over fires that they've had to look for hot spots, things of that nature.
Great. Questions on this one for the chief? And I guess the form of the motion is select board approves the receipt of this more or less.
Yes.
That could be a motion.
Chair?
Yeah.
Vice Chair? I move that the select board approve the receipt of the donation for the police department drone purchase.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second from Miranda. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Mary?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, so that's the drone receipts.
So the second one, Detective Hernandez, he is in charge of our bike program, Bike Patrol. And he was looking to increase our bikes to include 2 e-bikes. So he reached out to, so there's a matching 25% from the state of Vermont. However, when he reached out to see if he could get matching funds to offset the 25% from Community Bank, they were very generous and basically funded the whole project for us. So with their donation of $10,122, we're able to purchase 2 e-bikes and 2 racks, because the current racks we have for our regular bikes, you can't put e-bikes on those.
Questions for the chief about the e-bikes? Miranda?
I was just wondering how often the current bikes are being used, and if you're expecting the e-bikes to be used more, if you have a goal with how frequently they'll be used.
So I suspect the e-bikes are going to be used far more than our regular pedal bikes, just for the simple reason, if they're a distance from their cruiser, they're able to get back to their cruiser if a call comes in. As I said earlier, quite often at night, we're down to 2 people on duty. It doesn't stop our bike patrol guys from wanting to use their bicycles. So a lot easier, going through our parks at night. Also for special events, when you're down doing like the Quechee Balloon Festival, it's a lot easier to get back and forth quicker. And if you're going uphill, there's some benefits to it.
Questions on it?
Did you choose a vendor for the purchase?
So we're going to follow obviously the purchasing policy, but the brand that the officers are leaning towards is Volcanic, mainly because they're not fat tire e-bikes. And I'm not a bike mechanic, but for them, that's a big deal, not having the fat tire bikes.
Okay. And so then they would be purchased online from that company probably?
We'd have to do the 3 quotes to be within the purchasing policy, but we would find a vendor that fit the purchasing policy.
Okay. Great.
Other questions for the chief? Or I'll take a motion.
Mr. Vice Chair.
Yep.
I move that the select board accept the donation from Community Bank for the purchase of the e-bikes and e-bike racks for the Hartford Police Department.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a second.
Second.
Second from Miranda. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Great. Okay, so canine stuff.
Canine. So I think it'd be easier to do this a little backwards to explain why we need the cruiser, if that's acceptable, which brings us to why we're looking for donations in the grant. Our canine, so we have 2 canine officers. Our detective Clifford, who has Dozer, when we hired Mike and his team Atlas, Clifford gave up his vehicle. Canine cars are expensive, but the equipment that's needed to keep the dog safe in the car. So Dozer goes in a regular vehicle. He doesn't respond to patrol type calls. Whereas Mike and Atlas, they're a unit, they're handling patrol road calls. So Atlas is in the vehicle 100% of the time. Our canine car is a 2017 Ford Explorer. It has over 90,000 miles on it. And I would have to say probably within the last 2 years has been out of service for any number of reasons, more than it probably has been in service. When the car is not in service, our canine's not in service. Recently, yeah, I did a little research, just about the dangers of canines being in cruisers and that, because so within the canine equipment, so probably not a lot of people in here have been in the back seat of a cruiser, but you're in a small little plastic area. Well, none of that exists in a canine car. It's a metal cage type vehicle apparatus. But what it has built into it is fans, and it has temperature monitors. So if the car gets too hot, the windows will come down automatically, and then it'll sound an alarm so the officer knows that there's a problem with the vehicle. Recently, when Mike was headed to training, the air conditioning in the car broke. He was a couple of hours away from the PD, had to keep pulling over on the side of the road, fanning out the vehicle because it sustained a temperature of 91 degrees in the car. Obviously, that's not a great environment for the dog. It's not a great environment for us, but it's worse for the dog in the back seat because it doesn't get the same airflow in the back of those cruisers that we would get in the front passenger seat and the driver's seat with your windows down. So given the fact that this car is consistently failing, my concern is he leaves Atlas out in the car, he's inside doing paperwork. If there's a failure with the car, which is happening consistently, I don't know that I can in good faith trust that those alarm systems are going to activate to tell us if there's a problem with the car, given that we're consistently having failures. Currently, to our trade value on the vehicle is $1,200. The current repairs just to get the air conditioning back up and running is $1,200. We've spent more money than that in this car over the past 2 years. The car currently won't pass inspection. It needs new rocker panels. We installed those on another vehicle, and it was, I believe, a $3,300 job. So we're investing money into a money pit. So with that, we started because our budget cannot support purchasing a car. So Officer Sergeant Salamita, excuse me, went to a grant training course. I met with the finance director, explained the situation we were in, and both agreed that our budget can't support purchasing a vehicle. So she said, look at other funding options, grants and things of that nature that are out there. So that is what Officer Sergeant Salamita did. And he managed to procure a $40,000 grant, $40,000 donation from an anonymous source, very generous to help support us in trying to purchase this vehicle. His backup option to the balance of that, because the vehicle is $78,000. So his backup was to try and then reach out to Firehouse Subs to apply for their grant. The issue with that, for the balance of the $22,000, it's $22,000, I believe 118.
That's because you've got 16 in a different fund.
Yes. Yeah, I'll go through all
Sure.
of the numbers in a
That's
bit. Oh, no, that's okay. So the problem with the Firehouse Sub grant is they don't do partial fundage. So they would fund an entire project, but our project is far over what their limits are. We submitted the grant application anyways. Maybe they're generous. The worst thing they can do is say no. So currently, of our $78,000 purchase that we have, or that we need to make, we have a $40,000 donation that I'm requesting that you all allow us to accept. And we then have $16,524 in a canine fundraising account. We were looking to raise funds prior to Mike and Atlas joining the department. We were looking at raising funds to add a canine to our department, and meaning we were going to use those funds to buy a dog. We don't need to buy a dog because Mike and Atlas came. So we're looking to use those funds to also put that towards the car, which would leave us with a balance of $22,118.92 that we would have to find in our budget. Unless the board was generous enough to allow us to, if it's something that's allowable, to take it out of our reserve funds. If not, I can divide it between two GL lines, our uniform line and our training and recruitment line, and split the 11,000 between those two. You have a question?
Just on that note, what was the finance director's recommendation on the reserve account?
I honestly didn't ask her about the reserve account. The reason I put it in my memo is when I looked at the budget book, I saw that Chief Sheldon had asked for computers, and he had an amount budgeted in there, and the select board said to take it out of reserves. So I was hoping that you all could make that decision, but I don't know if that's within your role or not.
I wonder if Gail's online with us tonight. I don't know.
I don't see her on Zoom.
Okay.
So,
sorry, carry
okay,
on.
yep. So that's basically where we're at. The quote that we have is from Colonial Municipal Group, which is our standard vendor for our cruisers. So I'm looking for one for the approval to accept the $40,000 donation to put towards the car. And then second, approval to move forward with the purchase of the vehicle or the ordering of the car. It's going to take about 3 months to start to finish if they have the vehicle in stock.
So a motion to accept the $40,000 donation and to move forward with the purchase of the vehicle.
Yes.
And I wonder-
Funding of the balance is something we're gonna have to do.
Figure out.
Yeah, I wonder if the board wanted to issue some kind of motion to find the balance in either reserves or in the two line items outlined, depending upon the finance director's recommendation. Or we can simply come back to you on a different
We
night.
should come back, just give it sort of,
Yeah, that'd be the safer thing, and there is time, of course.
Questions, discussion?
I was wondering, looking at, the two budget line items that you were looking to reallocate from recruitment and training and purchase uniform and cleaning, if there were any, if using these funds for the vehicle what effect that would have in your department?
We're going to have to be very careful for the rest of this fiscal year. In all honesty, it will leave us probably, if everybody, so certain parts of the uniform line are contractual with the union contract, the clothing allowance. So when I did my math, adding and subtracting everything out, it's going to leave us about $5,000 on that line if I take the $11,118 out of that line. Our training line, we're going to do a lot more in-house training. And this is discussions that we've had at command meeting and within the department, that it's a sacrifice that we're all going to have to put in for, but we want our dog to be safe. So we have to make sacrifices.
Eric?
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. My only question, which probably doesn't bear on the motion for tonight, if we're going to hold off, if we're just going to stick to a motion on acceptance and a motion on moving ahead with the purchase of the vehicle, the numbers themselves don't matter, but it didn't look like you subtracted out the $1,200 for the existing vehicle, if that's the
That's already done in the quote. So the quote
okay.
is
Got it.
right. So
All right.
the number of the vehicle already takes into consideration that
Okay,
$1,200.
I missed that. Thank you.
Yeah, Lenny Collins, Hartford. So the question I have, Chief, is what is, I don't know any other way to say this, but what is the life expectancy of K9 Dozer and K9 Atlas for the money that we're going to spend for the vehicles? What is their projected life expectancy, or not their life expectancy?
Their usefulness.
But their service time, I should say. I apologize for life expectancy, apologize for that. I'm a dog lover, so, but their service time that they'll be available.
So Atlas is, who would be the primary dog in this vehicle, has at least a service life of 5 more years.
Okay, and Dozer?
Dozer may retire, but he's not going to be in this vehicle.
Okay.
Dozer goes in a regular.
So this is
car.
strictly for Atlas.
Atlas,
Okay,
yes.
so that's a concern, you know, moving forward as far as how much time this dog will have for this car if it's unviable. So, and the other question I guess I have is, do you have the number off the top of your head? What is in the reserve fund currently right now that you have?
I believe it's about 156,000. Some of that is allocated for other items that have been being put into that.
Having
account.
been a member that worked on that budget, I personally feel that you should have the funds available for the training. Training is a very important tool. I think it's very important to keep those funds. And I also think it's very important to keep the uniforms standards as well for the town. So if I were to make a recommendation to the board, I would suggest tapping into those reserve funds to utilize that, because we want our department to be trained at the highest levels. And to take that money and just do in-house training when we can utilize expertise from out of house, not to say that we don't have the experts in-house for training, but anytime we can get out of house training, it's well worth the opportunity. So I would recommend, again, using reserve funds for this, and I fully support that. Thank you.
Thanks, Lenny.
I guess one other loose end is we haven't heard from Firehouse Subs yet.
Yeah, that's true. So tonight we can accept 40,000 and move forward with the purchase. If we want to use the reserve funds, we could do that at a future meeting. Does that sound acceptable to people?
Do we need to approve accepting the Firehouse sub money if it's?
No, we can come back and let you know how that works out. Right.
That sounds fun.
Okay, anyone like to make a motion?
Okay. Eric's looking at me. Okay, I move to accept the anonymous donation of $40,000 towards the canine vehicle purchase, and to approve the future purchase pending funding source discussions at a future meeting.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Is it, sorry, I was going to say, is it agreed that we can go ahead and order the vehicle, given that it's time critical, and that there'll be plenty of time to sort out the remaining of the funding sources? Is that the understanding?
Let me make that as a friendly amendment that that the staff may proceed with the ordering of the vehicle.
Thanks.
And then I'll second the motion.
Okay, so we have a motion, a second, any discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, thanks, Chief.
Thank
Great
you.
work.
Thank you.
Great.
All right, we're gonna hear from Chris on the updated rankings of pre-qualified engineers.
So this is sometimes it's before you annually, depending if there's changes in the rankings. From our previous meeting, you understand how we go outside of the purchasing policy with our engineers for SRF loans due to the way those loans are administered. So that was the main purpose of having pre-qualified engineers, because we do have to certify that to the state when we apply for loans with the pre-qualification. So based on, I'll call it retirements, people leaving different firms, we've had to juggle the rankings at times. And we've also had to, at a previous, not all of you were here for that, include a new firm into the pre-qualified engineers because enough staff left and went to another firm. So they got included on a interim basis. And so given the performance of all the engineers, who's left, who's gone, cost, performance, not all of it I'm releasing publicly because it tips off of the other engineers and so forth. And it's kind of contractual. It's not something we would do out in the open. We're giving you the recommended rankings, which puts the Dufresne group now at number 1 and so forth, as you've read. The recommendation of the language in here is previous language that has been included. as far as using it for clean water loans, SRF loans. And the fact that with our own self-funded projects, how we use this list is we don't go out for requests for proposals every time the public process. In other words, we pick the engineers we work with, and the request for proposals gets old if you've already submitted for one project and then we ask for it for another project. So what we do is we go out to a bid, same methodology as we would if we did out for a bid or request for proposals to these folks for the projects we've defined. Usually you're well aware of them. And then their pre-qualification ranking is part of the scoring process of that bid, like it would be normally. So this is just cleaning up our paperwork on an annual basis. This time it's coming before you because we're changing the landscape, the rankings.
Okay, thanks. Chris, questions for Chris? Okay, I'll take a motion on, there's a recommended motion on page 72 of the packet. Make it.
Mr. Vice Chair?
Yes.
First of all, Chris, thank you for staying on top of this stuff. I think it's important that keeping these things up to date and so forth, reacting to the environment that's out there. So the motion, I recommend, or I move that the select board accept the updated water resource engineering rankings and continue to waive the request for proposal requirements for the town of the town of Hartford purchasing policy for engineering services funded through state revolving funds or where competitive bidding is not allowed or feasible. And three, to authorize the Department of Public Works to utilize the RFQ process and rankings to satisfy the applicable portions of the purchasing policy for self-funded projects.
Okay, we have a motion from Eric. Any second?
Well, second.
A second from Ida. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Great. Thanks, Chris. We got you back for one more. Consider acceptance of structures grant for Quechee-Hartland Road Culvert Engineering.
Okay, so a few of you are new, so I'll go back in time just quickly. With the ARPA funds, we secured a certain amount of it that's not yet complete yet to update our long and short bridge asset. Basically, it's an asset management plan. It's a condition of the bridges, projected cost of work on them that's needed. This last review, they red flagged this culvert, and we actually did some additional services with them to scope out the magnitude of cost for the different options to deal with this culvert. Lanny lives on this road. This road actually now is within a few cars shy of the traffic levels on Route 12 to Taftesville. So it's a major highway. Therefore, we took it to the next step after receiving the analysis. It's hundreds of thousands of dollars just to slip line it, which seems foolish for 5 to 10 years. And then, sorry, my voice is going. And then the replacement cost of $500,000 is a bargain when you consider that the temporary fix, if it's even permittable, that's a caveat, is hundreds of thousands of dollars. So we approached the state about a structures grant to position ourselves for the replacement with engineering, environmental, so forth, in a manner that would be applicable to securing a structures construction grant or possibly getting it up on a higher list with V-Trans to get it funded. We went through the analysis of approximate cost, and the engineering is about $80,000. That includes the environmental, wetlands. It includes the archaeological study that's required if you're going to do grant work. It's all in there. Hopefully it comes in at that. But basically, we're asking you to accept the grant so that we can put this out to bid and choose a firm to work on it.
questions for Chris?
Thank you, Lenny Collins, Town of Hartford. Chris, as you mentioned, I do travel over this almost every day, and it is definitely needed of improvement. The big concern I have, and what I'm asking is this. I know that there hasn't been a lot of engineering done on this yet, but the gentleman that owns the property right down by this culvert has now done a bunch of clear cutting on his land. And this is going to increase the potential runoff that's going to be entering this culvert. So is this going to drive our cost for this thing astronomically? I mean, I know you don't have a crystal ball, Chris. I understand that, but this is something that I think should have been addressed. And I don't know how he's allowed to clear cut.
So he's speaking of a project where the farmer in that area secured a permit for an agricultural crossing across the nearby stream. Actually, it was actually there. It was a wooden bridge. He re-put it in as a structure, I believe. He got all his wetland permits and so forth. I'll just say that is a project that's right next to this. That in itself isn't going to change the runoff of any magnitude to this bridge. When they do the runoff calculations or the size and the hydraulics of this, they're looking globally at the whole area with major safety factors in it. The runoff up there wasn't increased. It's not like it's on a parking lot and really flash flooding at the bridge. This is, still mostly porous, pervious ground that can saturate some of the runoff, but it's also right there at the bridge. So
it's all hillside.
So the peak runoff, comes from a mile away. It takes a while to get there. So this runoff will be beating the peak of the far away land because it's coming from close by to it. So will it contribute to a peak? Possibly. But again, it's the stream stats, the programs they use to calculate this. I mean, it's already included in a factor of what it is as developed land, not
in terms of erosion control. That'll be taken into account when the engineering's
so the head walls, the erosion we're responsible for when this bridge is designed will be right there within our right of way or the easements we buy. Okay. The calculations that, if you want erosion at the head wall to this, right, will be based on the amount of water coming at it, and the dam you're creating there will be designed to accept it and channel it through. It will be, right now, it's a large but small culvert for where it is. This will be a much larger opening with much less restrictions, and it'll be compliant with Federal Clean Water Act, which means right now there's no aquatic crossing. It's kind of silly. You have nature, and this thing just pours out like a waterfall. So now it will actually, any aquatic life form will be able to follow the stream bed right up through. So when they do design these, it's much wider. It's actually supposed to let almost anything through, whether it's a log floating down through.
That's what my concern was, because now with all this clear cut.
But
you've answered my question.
But that's on private property. That's outside of my jurisdiction.
I understand. You know my concern.
Any other questions for Chris? If not, I'll take a motion. There's a recommended one on 73 in the back. Right.
I move that the board accept structures grant number BC 2426, authorize John Haverstock, town manager, to execute said grant and any subsequent loan documents, and authorize the town manager to execute an engineering contract to the winning bidder amongst the pre-qualified water resource engineers up to $80,000.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
A second.
Second from Ida. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Mary?
Aye.
Great. So we've made really good progress so far. I think we could take a very quick break.
Thank you.
The remaining items are all between us and the town manager. So let's do it quick. We can sign our stuff, take a bathroom break, and then try to be back at least by 7:30. Great. back. Okay, we are back from our break. Our next item, we're turning to John, to authorize the town manager to bid a tax sale.
Yes, Mr. Chair, for the evening. The town is in the process of preparing for an August 14th tax sale regarding approximately 15 parcels. The number has come down from 60 at the outset, and now we're down to 15 parcels whose owners are 2 or more years overdue on their property taxes or seriously delinquent on water and sewer charges. There's 13 in the first category, 2 in the next. Generally, municipalities bid their debt at such sales to assure that any winning bid is sufficient to pay off the town's debt, including legal fees for the tax sale. And so I'm simply asking that the board authorize me to do so at August 14th for any remaining parcels. And toward that end, I did ask Attorney Ancuda to provide a little bit of backdrop for the tax sale process in general and his recommendation that the select board do authorize the town manager to bid at tax sale as a prudential matter to protect the town's interests. That, of course, is legal advice, which you received separately from the packet.
Are the personal owners given like priority to redeem?
Oh, anyone can, I'm sorry, the only people who can redeem are the property owners. And by redeem, I mean, after the tax sale, they have 1 full year in which to redeem by making full payment, including interest that accrues at an annual rate of 12% after the tax sale.
So they have some protections.
They do. There's even though, first of all, these folks, remember, are 2 or more years past due. Second, the process and the statutes require the town to be very careful about reaching any and all delinquent taxpayers to notify them of this process. And third, even after the tax sale, the owners have 1 full year to redeem by paying the debt in full, plus any accrued interest. So I think there are numerous safeguards in place to protect property owners, even those who are in a difficult situation, perhaps.
Other questions for John on this one?
I also will point out this is both familiar territory and unfamiliar territory. I gather we haven't done a tax sale process since the days of COVID. So that might be why there's not much institutional memory on the board about the process. But as Attorney Ancuda points out, it is important that there are consequences for non-payment after all other options have been exhausted.
Yeah. Other questions for John?
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Just a quick comment. Thank you for clarifying that the bid includes all statutorily recoverable costs. That was a useful bit of information. Thank you.
Sure thing.
Lanny, if you have a comment, question?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Lanny Collins, Hartford. So I haven't had a chance to really review any of those, but are any of these properties, Sean, any properties that might behoove the town to purchase on for development of town's use for offices in the future?
There is, I think, one interesting parcel along those lines. I can't identify the names out of privacy concerns, but there is a property located at 5275 Route 14 that has a commercial possibility in terms of usage.
Okay.
But generally speaking, these are single family homes, a couple of condos and several mobile homes. We do have information about the amount due and about the assessed value of these properties from the most recent assessment. So I think we have a pretty good idea that there's no property that is what I would call a real dog, but certainly before the sale, I will take a look, especially at the mobile homes, make sure we're not buying into something that we'll regret later.
As we, as a town, continue to grow, it's something the select board and leadership of the town needs to think about, is that we are going to outgrow this building in terms of staff. And There's only so much room here, and we need to look at something in the future for further staffing requirements, say if we're going to get into housing division or into what I recommend is a cemeteries division. We definitely need to look at places to house staff for future uses. So if there's a property that's available for town to purchase through tax sale, it would behoove us to take advantage of that now.
I think since the I'm sorry, are you finished?
No, that's it. Thank you.
If in fact our primary goal is simply to collect the taxes that are due, I'm not sure I see this as an opportunity to think long-term in terms of the town's need for real estate. More importantly, I think I'd be very happy in each of these cases if we were to bid the town's debt, only then to find a third party willing to bid higher, because then we can be out of the equation altogether.
John, thank you, Lanny. Any other questions? Otherwise, I'll take a motion.
Mr. Vice Chair, I move to authorize the town manager to bid the debt balance at the upcoming August 14th tax sale on the parcels identified in the attached document in the packet.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second from Miranda.
Can I clarify that we're talking about the list as presented tonight?
Yeah.
Which is slightly different than the one in the packet. By one's been
Friendly
removed.
amendment.
I'll take that as the friendly amendment. Yes.
A second. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Mary?
Aye.
Okay, our next item, we're gonna start thinking about budget guidance for staff. So I know Miranda and Eric, this will be your first budget, but usually at the outset, the select board sets some sort of broad parameters for the budget guidance. And so John will give us a little background on that. You see some of the past years, the budget guidance that was in there. We're down one number tonight because Ashley's gone. So I would suggest that we get some initial sort of highlights from John, his thoughts. We take a look, and then we have any questions for John or any thoughts about how we want to approach this. We get those sort of aired out, and then on the 19th, we can approve the budget guidance, just because it's one of those things where we can get a little lost in the weeds. I think it's important to take some time, review it, get our questions answered. So John, you can take it all. I mean, one thing last year John mentioned was some years we've set like what we'd like to see in terms of an increase, like no more than say 3%. Some years we haven't, and John can sort of tell us what the experience with that was. But otherwise, I'd suggest we start looking this over, get our questions to John, take it up. John,
yes, of course, I've only been here 2 years now, but my experience is that generally the board has, and you see it here from 2024 and 2025, the board has spoken mostly to their values and their priorities, not to hard numbers in the budget guidance. And I can understand philosophical sides on both sides of whether the board should be more specific. I just will point out that in the absence of any kind of monetary parameters, last year we had the department heads come forward with their budget proposals, which tallied up to something in the order of an 18 to 20% increase, which then involved staff going back with sharpening their pencils in a process that was very time-consuming and frustrating for staff, because of course they simply want to have a well-funded budget to meet the needs of the public as they perceive them, and without any kind of guardrails about amounts to be shooting for. They presented their version of the best budgets they could propose. But again, absent any kind of monetary limitations, this could happen again. We'd like to avoid that painful and time-consuming process if we could. So the finance director and I agree that if there was some broad guidance in terms of monetary terms of maybe a percentage increase over the current budget, it might be helpful. And when Mike starts talking about 3%, that makes me wince a bit, because wages are going to increase by more than that. Health insurance will be right around that neighborhood. And it may be that at a first pass, you ask for a certain increase, knowing full well that you'll have a couple of months to trim or ask about trimming beyond that. So I would just say, if you decide to add a monetary limit, that it's not too severe, so that there's a little play in the joints for the budget process to follow.
Yeah, and I threw three just off the top of my head, so I don't really have that expectation. Are there any sort of general questions about this process for John? The idea that we're gonna dig into this at the next meeting?
And by the way, I should point out, and I think you know it from the last session, we do have an approved budget schedule, budget calendar in place. And I think you all know that once the board, staff has the guidance from the board, they will generate budgets in later August into September, which the finance director and I will review closely. Then we'll present you with a collection of all these individual budgets as a overall budget document, I think very early in October. And October and early November are taken up with presentations by each of the departments to the board at the special and regular select board meetings. And then we have November into December to hone the budget and get it to where you think it's presentable to the voters at town meeting.
Questions, general questions, or sort of comments on the process from the board? Otherwise, we'll just agree, I think, as a board, to actually try to finalize the guidance the next meeting on the Eric?
Mr. Vice Chair, thank you. A couple of general comments. First of all, I think the process that, of contemplating it a bit longer and wrapping it up on the 19th makes sense. Secondly, I fully agree with putting some guardrails around either a tax rate increase or an expenditure % increase to provide some guidance there. I fully agree that last year's process seemed a bit drawn out for that reason, that it wasn't there. I have one question to the town manager and one question to the board. One question to the board is, can someone remind me who the school board liaison is? And okay. Perhaps it would be appropriate next meeting to inject some of what's going on, if whatever we know about the potential for the school budget in the upcoming year. I look back to 2 years ago when the municipal budget was a 7+% increase, and we knew at the time there was rumblings at the state level about pretty significant increases in the education tax, and that was distressing, and I think we need to be mindful of avoiding that however possible. So it's one comment about injecting some of that information into the conversation. I know that they're looking at buildings, but I don't know what the timelines are or anything really. The second question I would have for John, and don't have to answer this now, but would it be helpful to have sort of a kind of a two-tier approach where the board said we don't want, let's just say that we're dealing with tax rate increase. We don't want the tax rate increase to be greater than X. But we also want staff, department heads and so on to identify items and be ready in case current economic conditions change or something comes up, be ready to reduce that. So I don't want to use the word non-discretionary for necessarily, but for example, have a list of things that they have identified that they could remove if we came back and said, okay, we need to go a little lower with the tax rate increase.
Well, then you're going to really get into an interesting issue of trust. And will the staff trust that you're asking them to identify these bubble requests won't immediately become, oh, that's low hanging fruit, we're going to hack away.
Well, they don't have to share that information. It's
I see.
It's about being ready for a contingency plan.
Yes.
Thank you for clarifying, because So don't tell us what you think.
What's dispensable? What can you live without?
Discretionary, right? But be ready potentially for because it just seems like there's a lot of uncertainty or the potential for uncertainty on multiple levels, economically speaking. And it might behoove us to sort of have a plan where we say, you know, we're to target this percentage.
Mhm.
But then also, if something changes in October, you know, November or whatever, have staff prepared to, you
Yeah.
know, like do some whittling
Yeah.
without having to spend weeks and weeks rethinking, you know,
Right.
sort of have those things queued up. And maybe they already do. And so
I think they probably do because they
Right.
really get down into the weeds of every last line item. So they probably know what they can lose if it's a really tough year. But to articulate that specifically is a good idea.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Questions or comments for John, or should we just agree that the 19th? Sound good? Okay.
Yeah.
Next item, back to you, John. So as everyone on the board knows, we do have a select board vacancy, and the majority of the board at the last meeting decided that we wanted to go ahead and fill that. So John sort of came up with an application and process and some sort of timelines for deadlines for people who are interested to put in their name. And how we go about doing that. So John, if you want to sort of tell us what you've come up with.
Sure. And this is just kind of a rudimentary roadmap. You should obviously feel free to take it or leave it as you see fit. But just for the benefit of the folks listening, this consists of, if in fact you are interested in soliciting applications to fill the vacancy, what form should those applications take? And I've drafted something, again, pretty quickly, deriving from the application form we use for boards, committees, and commissions, and just made custom for select board application purposes. You'll also want to consider, if you did so, that fact that we could announce that as early as tomorrow. How many days do you want to leave an application period open? And who should be the person to collect applications? Lana has said she has served that function in the past. That's perfectly fine with me. I had suggested myself, but there's no magic there. And then what date would the select board like to perform interviews of applicants, if they would like to interview applicants? And if so, should those be held in public session or private session? Finally, we should probably set a date and time for the select board to consider all the candidates in executive session, followed immediately by a public announcement regarding the choice the select board has made. So those are, I think, the variables that could go into a motion if somebody wanted to make it.
So John, your proposed motion. So we want applications in by Friday, August 15th at 5.
Just a proposal.
Just a proposal with interviews at the select board meeting on the 19th, and then an executive session that evening, presumably, which may be a little close, but that's what sort of these initial proposals.
Sure, and that's ambitious, but it also takes into account that the clock is ticking, and if you want to fill it, I assume you want to fill it relatively promptly.
Thoughts on the timelines or the proposal? I mean, it seems to me the actual proposal itself in general is probably how we would go about doing it. Good to solicit people to put in their interest and have an opportunity to talk with them, and gauge their interest, and things like that, and then actually have an executive session to choose. So I mean, I'm cool with it. I'm cool with the deadlines unless people think it's a little too close. Happy to open it up. Eric, if you have some.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Well, I certainly agree with the idea that the proposal for the interviews, although now that I'm reading it, you say public or private. I would rephrase that and say, I think the interviews should be public.
Yeah.
It should be a transparent process. The public should understand what questions we're asking and what the responses are. I think so. I would advocate for public interviews and private deliberations. And one thing I was thinking about proposing with the timeline change was, and I don't know, having just sort of gone through this process of figuring out what our workload is in our work plan, this could chew into it considerably if there are a number of applicants. And I don't know how likely that is, but one possibility is that we get something like a dozen applicants, and that would be difficult to interview in one night. So what I would propose is that that you keep the deadline of August 15th for applications due, and that during the August 19th meeting, we allocate time we allocate an executive session if there are more than X number of applicants, at which point we, as a board, whittle the pool, and then we come out of that executive session and let the public know, let's just say we're going to interview five applicants. And so if there's 10, we just whittle it down to 5 and then let those applicants know, and then set up a special meeting to do the interviews that following Thursday, if that's an option. And that way we can we can do interviews and an executive session dedicated in a special meeting and not chew into our regular meeting time. So that's
I like that. I mean, I think that makes sense. Miranda or Ida, do you have any thoughts on that?
Are you saying, I'm sorry, to whittle down from 10 to 5 in this example, before interviews or after interviews?
To whittle during the regular meeting on the 19th, to schedule an executive session where the board would do some whittling down, do basically a first round, essentially what an employer would do is, sort of sift through the interviews.
Who merits an interview?
Written applications alone.
Based on the written applications, right? And so we should have some content there that we can use to effectively distinguish between who we want to interview and who not. And so we would come out of that executive session with a list of which candidates we want to interview. And then the rest of the process would happen in a special meeting.
Yeah.
I like that idea.
I do too.
I wouldn't do the special meeting the 21st and go see Mulligan. It would have to be another day.
Yeah, same. I also will not be in town.
Yeah, I won't either. I'll be here the Wednesday. the
Or how
20th.
about the following Tuesday?
There's no meeting scheduled that Tuesday, right? So
Right.
it'd be the
26th?
Sound good?
You could do it.
Yeah.
At our regular
Everyone kind of agrees to that. I think we just have to put that in writing. So that would be deadline to John, not later than Friday, August 15th at 5. Executive session, the select board meeting of Tuesday, August 19th to finalize candidates. And then a special meeting on Tuesday, August 26th to name its selection, if any.
To discuss the selection of a select board member with a public announcement thereafter.
Interviews and deliberation.
Yeah.
Anyone want to try and reduce that to a motion?
You could simply say what you want to say, and Lana and I can make sure it comes out right.
All right, I'll make a motion, Mr. Vice Chair. Move pursuant to section 203A1E of the town charter to begin a process of soliciting select board candidate applicants with applications due to the town manager, John Haverstock, no later than Friday, August 15th at 5 p.m. With time during the regular Tuesday, August 19th meeting, during which the select board will select candidates to be interviewed, and interviews and deliberation and selection announcement to occur on a special meeting to be held on August 26th. Interviews to be held in open session and deliberations to be held in closed session.
With the acceptable form being that which I've provided for applications. Okay.
Yeah, it seems fine.
Yep.
All right, we have a motion. We have a second.
Second.
Any discussion? I think it's good to get moving on this. Okay, we have a motion and we have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Okay, and then last item tonight so far on the regular agenda is to consider adoption of select board work plan. So I'll turn that to you, John.
And I will quickly hand it off to Eric, but I'll just point out that we had our work plan session on Sunday, June 29th, with the assistance of VLCT facilitators, and developed a work plan which has been revised following a July 22nd meeting that I had with Eric and Ida, just to kind of tighten up some of that document. The previous version had been circulated to department heads, who were encouraged to make corrections or corrections of any errors, and virtually no such responses came in. And so I think there's integrity with the resulting product. I think Eric might be interested in kind of giving his overview of what he thinks the work plan signifies and how it can guide future select board activity.
Eric, if you want the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. I would just say that I passed along 3 documents to the board. One of them was the work plan itself, which with help from John and Ida, we cleaned up, and input from Lori. There were a few, we were a little bit over capacity. That was probably the major thing. And so a little bit of shuffling and reorganization got us in a greater sense of balance. And we reviewed all of the board priorities that were included on the Eisenhower matrix. And that's the second document that I included, which spells out sort of an action for each of those so they don't get mislaid. And then the third document was an explainer, which if the board adopts the work plan and asks the town manager to communicate it to the public, it could be useful to have a little context around that. So that was not something that needs to be produced or reproduced verbatim, but it's a starter language for the communication specialist or whoever might be putting it out there in the world.
Okay.
And if I've gotten anything in those documents, if I've misrepresented or mistook anything during our meeting, I hope that Ida and John will correct me.
So we would just want a motion to adopt the select board work plan.
Mr. Vice Chair?
Yeah.
I move that the select board adopt the work plan created and circulated by Eric to the board.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second? Second by Miranda. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Thank you, Mary, and thank you, Eric and Ida and John for working on that. Great. Okay, commission reports. Eric, do you have any commission reports?
I have none.
Okay, Miranda?
None.
Ida?
None.
Mary, do you have any commission reports?
Nope.
Okay, I don't have any either. So consent agenda, I'll take a motion. Anyone who wants to do it?
I move that the select board approve payroll ending August 2nd, 2025, approve the AP manifest for August 1st, 2025 and August 7th, 2025, approve meeting minutes of July 22nd, 2025, and approve future meetings of August 19th. Should I throw in August 26th?
August 26th.
Yep, August 26th,
26th.
special meeting.
September 2nd, September 16th, and September 30th.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Well, second.
Second from Ida. Any discussion?
Can I make a friendly amendment that do we have the approved meeting minutes of 7/22 as amended?
Sure. From the amendment accepted. Ida, you second that?
Yes, second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Thank you. And then now we've got a motion to go into executive session. John has given us a paper copy of the motion, so we can take that and go into executive session if you feel.
By the way, for the public, they can see it on the agenda, but this is for 2 purposes. selection of additional members of the Bugby Building Renovation Committee, and an update on the clerical union contract negotiations.
Okay, can we do this as one motion or would you like two?
I think one is fine.
Okay, if anyone would like to make that one motion, Eric?
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. I move that the board move to find that that premature general public knowledge would clearly place this body or persons involved at a substantial disadvantage pursuant to 1 VSA section 313A1. And I move to discuss a potential contract, personnel matters, and legal advice pursuant to 1 VSA section 313A1A, 1 VSA section 313A1F, and 1 VSA section 313 A3. Sorry.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a second.
Second.
Second from Ida. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Mary?
Aye.
Great.
By the
Mary, I
way-
don't know if you want to call John as we go into executive session.
I'm happy to give Mary a
Or
call
give
in
you a
about
call,
5
okay?
minutes. Yep.
All right.
Yep.
We are in-
That's great.
Okay, I will take a motion to come out of executive session.
I move that the select board come out of executive session.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Ida. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Mary, are you back on? Yep.
Aye. Yep, aye.
All right, so we are back in open session. I will take a motion. Miranda?
I move that the select, or, I think that right.
Yep.
Okay, I move the select board appoint Scott Hausler and
Oh.
Linda.
Sorry.
Scott Farnsworth.
Oh, my God, I'm so sorry. Scott Farnsworth and Linda Simon Miller to the Bugby Senior Center Building Renovation Committee.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Second from Eric. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you, Mary. All right, I will take a motion to adjourn.
So we gotta,
moved.
yeah.
Okay, I think Ida got there first. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Eric will second. All those in favor say aye.
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 All right, we are adjourned. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mhm.